I'm back in San Francisco after going to Estonia to run a marathon as part of my goal to run a marathon on every continent on the planet and interview entrepreneurs all over the world. But this video isn't about running. It's actually about goals. Because after I interviewed the creator of Skype in Estonia, I decided that I'm just going to give up on all my goals. F them. I'm going to start brand new. To start my solo marathon, I went to a KGB prison. I thought it'd be kind of meaningful to put myself in one of their tiny torture closets and then get out and start running. After that claustrophobic contraption, everything really did feel exhilarating. I was in a brand new country. I finally forgot about the anxiety of running and the lack of sleep and all that, and I just enjoyed the fact that I was no longer in that closet and I was out there doing my run. The reason I came to Estonia is because it's a tiny country that's producing a massive number of success stories. We're looking at Bolt, which is a ride-sharing company very similar to Uber. WeTransfer, which makes it super easy to transfer money from person to person anywhere in the world. Verif, which verifies people's identities and is now being embedded into lots of different apps that we use. I wanted to understand and to record for my podcast why these people were becoming disproportionately successful. And more than that, how I could learn from them to be more successful and how my audience and my podcast can be more successful. I also wanted to push myself to run 26.2 miles. I should tell you that what finally got me to start running 7 marathons on 7 continents in 1 year is that at the end of last year, I discovered my list of goals, a list that I wrote a decade ago. And when I saw them, I just felt like an immediate failure. I hadn't done any of them. And they've just been burdening me. Even though I forgot about them, in the back of my head, I kept feeling like a failure for not having hit them. I don't know if you ever felt like that, but it's there and it was constantly weighing on me. So I decided that in order to cross off all the items on the list, I'd start off by knocking off the easiest one, the one that was 100% in my control, running a marathon on every continent. I figured if I could do that, then I could do the others and just keep working my way through the list. And after hours of hard work, I did it. I finished my Estonian marathon number 5. Only 2 continents left, by the way, Africa and Antarctica. 26.2 miles. I did it. I did my marathon in Europe, in Estonia. But the whole time I was running, I kept thinking, why am I doing this? How am I going to get to the other goals? And I didn't have an answer for it. The next day, I interviewed the creator of Skype, Ahi. And one of the things that stood out for me was how he told me that early in life, he just kept failing.
So we spent about 10 years, doing it or trying to do it and having some success, but, never really, making it really big.
He was a developer. He kept coding up games and they didn't work. And how exhilarating it was to finally hit it big with Skype. Well, exhilarating for an Estonian means that nothing. I don't know. I couldn't see it on his face. I'm trying to read your face. The problem with Estonians, for me, someone like so exuberant is, like, you guys are not as exuberant. You're just watching it. Where's this energy going? But the thing that struck me was what happened to him after Skype. He started another company and he failed.
Most of us, after leaving Skype, most of us went to found new companies. All of them failed. All of them failed. Everybody who were early at Skype, and founded another startup after Skype, that startup failed.
And so I said to him, what'd you do after that? And he said, I stopped trying. I said, why?
When my daughter was born, when I became a father, raising a kid is a lot of work, or it takes a lot of time, and especially when they're really, really young. I really thought that, I can't be doing like a startup at the same time, or it would be too much. Like I really, don't really have a time.
And he said, no, I needed some hobby. And so he took up developing robots. He started building them and planning them and then entering them in competitions and really getting excited about them. And because he had a little bit of money, well, more than a little bit, he started hiring people to help him make these robots, to enter into competitions. I mean, the guy really went all out on his passion and forgot about startups. And then it occurred to him, why should we put cars on the road every time somebody needs a new pizza delivered to their house, or groceries, or medicine? The robots that he was creating could actually start picking up food and everything else and delivering it to people. And so he finally was ready to create a new startup. He called it Starship. It's a robotics company that raised tens of millions of dollars and has been making real deliveries. And the place that he discovered that it works best is on university campuses where people are not making food for themselves and they're willing to try new things. And so he's now deploying them on university campuses.
Students say that it used to be a novelty to get these deliveries via robot, but now it's just become a part of life on campus.
And he's going to keep expanding it until he reaches everybody in the world who gets things delivered. Anyway, back to me. When I was thinking about him at the coffee shop of the Estonian hotel that I was in that felt very Soviet, I just realized something. I was ready. I was ready to go through my list of goals. And so I started going through the list of goals, and what I discovered was that my goals from 10 years ago were pretty meaningless at this point. I remember one of them was to build my invitation website till it got, I forget how many people using it. But soon after I made that list, I realized I didn't want to be in the invitation business. The world doesn't need a new invitation software. I just kind of put it on that list, but it was weighing on me. And then some of the things that I really cared about, like doing interviews and this new business that I created, Mixergy, where I do interviews with people all over the world, where millions of people have been listening, that wasn't even on my list of goals. And I recognized that I am ready to just burn that old list of goals. And so that's it. I'm not going to be oppressed by them. I'm not going to live to try to hit those goals. The only one I care about is running a marathon on every continent and interviewing entrepreneurs as I go around the world. And it feels liberating to let go of those old goals. It feels like it's opening me up to do something else. So that's where I am. That's what I took out of my conversation with Ahi, and I learned so much from my interviews. I will be publishing that interview and others on my site and working my way through my last two continents. Africa is next, and then I'm going to find a way to Antarctica, where I'll continue. And as I go, instead of being guided by my goals that I wrote 10 years ago, I'm going to be open to new goals and new ideas and new things. I don't know if any of this resonates with you. I'm not even going to ask you for a like on this or ask you for feedback or subscribe. It's just something that I had to get off my chest, and it feels good. It feels good to have run that marathon. It feels good to say this.